Hey, welcome back to Teslatino. Today I want to talk a little bit about my experience driving the Jaguar I-PACE. The other day I went to the event that Jaguar had in Miami, and it was a really good experience. I have to say, I must admit that I thought at first that the Jaguar I-PACE was not going to be that good. Yes, it does have a lot to learn. They have a lot to fix, maybe improve on a few things, but maybe I shouldn't say a lot. I'm already used to the simplicity of my Model 3, and one thing that jumps out right away when I was in the I-PACE is that it has all the buttons that you can imagine in the world and then some. So it's a very busy cabin. It's crowded with stuff that you can push and turn and click and drag. They have an interface on the little screen that they have in the center console that is not very intuitive. I'm not sure why they did it the way they did it, but everybody's different. So I guess they need to appeal to a certain group of people that are already used to the way they do things. And I'm gonna go ahead and think that that's the reason why they designed the things the way they did, because they already have a fan base, people that trust the brand, that are used to the way the brand is, and I'm pretty sure that they don't want to compromise their fan base with too many new things. Now, in terms of the driving experience, the car drives really good. It has a lot of power, unlike the Chevy EV that it's supposed to, it's an EV, and all EVs are supposed to have a lot of power, even for a little amount of time. The Chevy doesn't, period. The I-PACE is a powerful vehicle getting off the line. I think it's I think it's faster than my Model 3 in a way, but that's an $80,000 EV. The one that I tried, I think it was actually $84,000. So I mean, and it's not, we cannot measure the electric cars by just 0 to 60 times or anything like that, because that's not practical use of a vehicle, of any vehicle really. That's just a moment of fun that you might enjoy every now and then when you're taking off the traffic lights or things like that. But if you're going to measure that, the right place to do it is on the racetrack. So anyway, going back to my experience driving the Jaguar I-PACE, I really think that the I-PACE is a very good start for Jaguar in terms of jumping into the EV world. Now, I was a little bit disappointed that the people that were talking about the vehicle over there, and basically those responsible to answer questions from the public, they didn't know some of the things that I wanted to know about it. And I had to really dig in and get more than one person to help me out, because they didn't really have all the information. Now, one thing that I do, I was very disappointed by the way that they were talking to people about about how people should not worry about the charging time, because there's thousands of EV charging stations in the nation. So yeah, that's fine if you are going to stop for hours at a time, many hours at a time. The I-PACE is, of course, they don't have the supercharger network like that Tesla does, right? So what they're telling people, at least what they told me, was that, oh, don't worry about a long trip, because let me show you this. And they showed me the ChargePoint network and some other networks, and they showed me how there was a few level 3 charging stations. And in any other places where you have public level 3 charging stations, if you get lucky, there's probably one or two. So that means that you are almost never guaranteed to have a spot in one of those if you're for a road trip, right? Because other people might be using it. Even they might be using it for not for a road trip, just a regular charging for them. So this vehicle, the I-PACE, is really good and stuff, and have the capability of being charged quickly, but there's no network for it, for charging it. So if, for example, the other day I went to Orlando from Miami, and I didn't even charge my car to full. I just charged it to the usual 90%. And charging it to the 90%, I was able to go to Orlando, still have about 20% of my battery left, or 15. I charged for I think it was 10 or 15 minutes first time, just to get a little bit more range while I was local. And I did what I needed to do. I went, I visited family and friends, and I hung out in Orlando. Then I decided to come back the same day. And all I did was stop one more time for, I think it was 20 minutes. I thought it was going to be 40 minutes. But I really just stopped for another 20 minutes on the second stop. And that was enough for me to get back home. Over 200 miles. So my point is that with the Tesla network, we don't even have to worry. I don't have any range anxiety, right? And I just don't see myself. How can I go for example, for a really long trip, like going from Florida to Philadelphia or to Los Angeles in California? You're gonna need a week just to get there, if you're lucky, because every time you stop, if you don't have a level 3 charger, you're stuck for 8 hours, 12 hours, whatever it is. If you have a level 3 charger, I think they say it's about from 20% of the battery to 80% in about an hour and a half. I think that's what they said. So with 234 miles of range, and you never drive all the way to zero, and you almost never charge all the way to full because you want to keep your battery healthy, you're talking about an actual range of about 200 miles. And then on top of that, the time it takes you to recharge the battery to keep going. I just don't see it as a vehicle that I can go on 1,000 miles at a time trips. So going back into how the vehicle drives, I have to admit that I thought it was gonna feel a little bit bulky and like a boat, but it did not. It just didn't feel. It felt like a car, almost like a sports car. Not quite there. My Model 3 feels a little bit more than a sports car than that, but that's an SUV, right? So you would think that it would feel like a little bit of a boat, heavyweight, leaning towards the right or the left when you turn hard. And the truth is that it felt really good. I was able to do they set up, so I had the chance to drive it on the street. I went around a few blocks in Miami on it. It felt really good. Visibility is a little bit of I don't know what to say. It doesn't have a lot of visibility, especially looking through the back. It has a really narrow opening on the back. But when I came back to the location after the street drive, they let us go into a little bit of almost like an autocross course. They set up some cones, and you get to push the limits of the car in that environment. But you have to go through different cones, and they will time you. And there were professional race drivers there that you can compare your times with their times. And when I drove it there, it felt really, really good. I managed to put I think it was a 14 place after a couple hundred people have drove it. driven it, and I did a really good time. The person that was next to me was an ex professional race car driver, and he was excited to see what time I did because he thought it was a really good run. Apparently, my time wasn't higher than what it should have been because I was taking the shortest route, and they were also measuring how precise you could be going in between the cones. And I was actually probably faster time-wise than a lot of the people that drove it, but they also give you points based on how centered you were on the cones. But that's my competitive spirit. I used to race a long time ago, and I hope I can go back to racing, maybe an EV one day. But my point is that the Jaguar I-PACE drives really well. It's all acceptable, and I have to admit, it's a little bit pricey for what you get if you're used to a Tesla, because it has so many things. It's so busy, that cabin, that I prefer a bit of more simplistic and better user interface, especially that screen. The screen is clunky. It's small. It makes sounds. It makes clicking sounds when you tap things to select them. I just didn't like that. But besides that, I would say that the biggest drawback that I felt on that vehicle was the charging network capacity, or lack of capacity, right? They don't have a charging network that they can offer people to stop just for like half an hour, for example. Even if it was just 1 hour, even if it's an hour, I'd be okay with that, because it's time to stretch your legs, eat something, go to a restroom. When you're on a long road trip, you should stop every couple of hours at least to take a break. So I am hardcore. I can go drive for 8 hours straight if I didn't have to stop to charge or fuel up. Anyway, those are my impressions about the Jaguar I-PACE. I think it's a really good start for Jaguar if they manage to put a some kind of network or some way that would allow anyone to do long road trips at the speed that you can do them in a Tesla. Then who knows, I could buy one. I probably will never buy a Jaguar, just because even before, I was never into the Jaguars. I know a lot of people that had them, and I'm not here to talk negatively about any car company, but the truth is the truth. And I know a lot of people were not that happy with their Jaguars. I know a couple of people that had converted actually from a Jaguar to a Tesla, and that's probably a good topic for another subject conversation. So yeah, that's really all I have in terms of how the Jaguar I-PACE behaves, how it drives, how good it is, the things that I don't like that much. If you have any questions about the Jaguar I-PACE that I didn't address on this video, please drop a comment down below. Let me know any questions you may have. Hopefully I did the review of whatever you need to know about, and if not, I'll try to research it for you and answer. So anyway, thank you for watching the video. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and click on the little bell so that you get notifications whenever I put a new video out. And stay safe, stay charged. Talk to you later. Take care. Bye-bye.